E. And these two players are some pretty strong ones. And oh ho ho, we have some interesting stuff going on already. So the first player scouting the shenanigans his opponent is putting on is the yellow Zerg player from My Insanity, Petraeus.
And in the north, our blue Terran player from Root Gaming, he is SuperNova.
That's the noise of a supernova. If supernovas make noise because they're in space, because they can't. But yeah, Supernova was going for a little bit of a proxy Reaper there, but Petraeus instantly went for it. I mean, these guys are former teammates as well. Petraeus was en route not so long ago, so it's no big surprise. I wouldn't be too surprised to have found out they practiced together quite a bit. They have kind of complementary styles, I guess. With Supernova being a bit of a mech player, Petraeus being a bit of a Stormhost player. So they probably, I could see them practicing together quite a bit. And I mean, Petraeus, he knew where Supernova was hiding that, and he went straight for it, just completely shut it down. And now Supernova just going to have to transition into more normal play, but he's doing so from being a little bit behind, just slightly lower work count.
Yeah, he's going to be slightly off in all of his first build opening up sort of timings. He's going to be, just that little bit behind. But we've got our 4 Lings on the way. We've got our CC also on the way for our Terran player, since our hatchery has already finished up for our Zerg player. And of course, people love talking about how there's an in-base expansion on this map, which tends to lead towards more economy-focused openers. And after that proxy, of course, that's what we're going to be seeing from both players.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting that in-base expansion down ever so quickly. A little bit slower for Supernova than he might really like it. I feel like maybe not CC first, but like a rack CC on this map is pretty okay. But of course, Supernova did already go for the gas first into a proxy Drax, which just got shut down. And I mean, Reapers are still pretty good on Binary Reset Station. They're not as good as they are on, say, Catalina, because there's only that one way into the main base, even though it is quite a wide kind of cliff all the way around the main base. You can't get into the natural at all with the Reapers, so it's a little bit tougher, but still okay. We'll see if Supernova is paying attention to his Reaper this time again. Oh, this time though, Petraeus is gonna screw up his surround a little bit, and the Reaper gets away. But damn, Supernova needs to pay more attention to his minimap.
Yeah, man, that's almost happened twice in 2 different series versus 2 different Zerg players, and I feel like it's something that we never see happen before we see speed. No. Like, sometimes it happens after speed, and even then, it's like those top Terran players, they're so slippery. But we do have Lair on the way to kind of divulge from slamming Supernova for his Reaper control. We do have Lair on the way for Petraeus, as well as that 3rd hatchery on the way, but it's into Hellions and Reaper support, something that is pretty common as well. We've got the Medevac on the way, and it's a 1-1-1 for our Terran.
Yeah, straight up that tech tree after, of course, all mixing in that CC somewhere along the way. And these Hellions are going to try and poke away at this 3rd hatchery a little bit. The Reaper adding its bit of damage as well, but they shouldn't be able to get too much done. Petraeus, I feel like when he's spread his creep down there a little bit, yeah, it's going to bring these queens down, start pushing those Hellions away. 4 Hellions and a Reaper, though, I feel like they can take it, and he's going to focus down the high NG one as well. Really nice decision to just make sure that, transfuses aren't going to be too much of a thing. But Lings come out of Petraeus are going to be able to drive this back fairly nicely. However, Supernova, he's not done with this aggression just yet, with an armory halfway finished. More and more Hellions are going to be available to turn to Hellbats, just threaten this 3rd base to an actually significant degree. And yeah, we'll see. They'll have a lot of longevity with this Medevac as well. Things are starting to look a little bit dicey for Petraeus now.
Yeah, he just... Supernova just needs to buy a little bit more time for that armory to finish up. Now it has finished up. There's the transform. And now, even with these couple of Banelings, Petraeus needs to make this work. Now, he does have a relatively alright surround. It's not a complete surround, but the Lings do get some nice kills off, and these Hellbat numbers are starting to fall, but there's still a scary amount of DPS, especially once this third hatchery gets eliminated, which is so close to going down. 2 Queens are extremely close to dying as well, and Petraeus may end up holding here, but it's going to be barely, if at all.
Yeah, it's so close. The medevac is going to get taken out.
Okay.
And eventually SuperNova loses all his units. But Petraeus lost his third base, and SuperNova across the map just starting his third command center, and some Banshees for the harassment as well. Although Petraeus even does have a Mutalisk on the way. Ideally, he'd want more than one, but I mean, one Mutalisk is better than no Mutalisks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
certainly more than enough to drive a Banshee.
Yeah, that is true. We do have the Banshee on the way, a second one being added on as well. And we also have the Viking out, moving around. Could end up clearing up some Overlords. Unfortunately for Petraeus, he is, relatively low on that Overlord count, which means if one too many Overlords ends up going down at the wrong time, especially if a Banshee is moving in, we could be seeing a very awkward situation for Petraeus. But his Mutalisk does spot that Banshee. Cloaking, it's a long ways off. It's almost a full, 90 seconds left until it's completed. And this one first Banshee just going to get eliminated. Come on, Mutas, finish it off. There we go.
Yeah, there we are. We'll fall down. And, of course, this does alert SuperNova to the fact that Mutalisks are out. And we do see a Viking and Thor and a couple of Vikings being started, most likely as a response to this. And slightly miscontrolled, I think, there by Petraeus, who's looking for a surround on those Hellions. He's going to try and get it anyway, and he will trap them back here successfully for the Mutalisks to deal with. The Lings back off after taking only 1 or 2 Hellbat volleys, and leave the Mutalisks to take down these slow Hellbats at their leisure. Really nice little kind of bait there by Petraeus. And now he's going to move across the map with his Lings, kind of looking to deny a third base more than anything else right now. Oh, no, I lied. He's looking to bust straight on up that ramp and end the game. 22 Banelings being morphed in. He can actually bust straight through the starport, but he's going to line them up on that depot. We'll see how well things go for him. There's a lot of Banelings here to go on the depot, and straight towards the mineral line. Vastly oversaturated as well. They could get some horrendous hits here, and they're looking for them, but Lings are flooding in as well and trying to bring things down for SuperNova, and a few Lings make it towards the natural mineral line as well, but good splits from SuperNova are going to save quite a few of their SCVs. But I mean, now there's a ton of Lings in the base, but the Thor and Vikings are actually dealing with this pretty nicely, and overall not much damage taken by SuperNova.
He did lose 18 SCVs, but he's on that triple orbital. He's got those mules, and he can make up for a little bit of that economic disparity. He has kept his Thors alive, as you were talking about. His Vikings as well, going to be lending him into a powerful mech army for the, mid to late game. But we do have that infestation pit on the way, as more Hellbats and upgrades do get added on for our Terran player. Well done by Pet, just delaying that third expansion a little bit at a time. However, Infestation Pit and Hydra Den on the way for Pet could be leading us towards some sort of swarm hosty play. Yeah,
could very well be a possibility there. With the Infestation Pit finished, we'll see what upgrade, or indeed what hive, first comes after that. And the 4 Banelings are going to try and do a little run by towards that third base, which is now being taken. But I feel like basically everything Petraeus is getting right now could have been so much faster if he hadn't invested in 22 Banelings. Those 22 Banelings, they killed a few SCVs, 16 SCVs, but I mean, 22 Banelings is a lot. That's a big investment. And I feel like it didn't really pay off for Petraeus. Not when he could have already had basically all the upgrades he's researching right now, and have started his hive a little bit earlier. The hive, by the way, is not the choice I expect. I did expect Petraeus to be going straight for the Stormhost, but it looks like he wants to play around in the Roach Hydra Viper area of the game a little bit before he actually goes for that. And I think that's pretty cool. I like Roach Hydra Viper quite a lot versus Terran in general, not just Terran mech. And yeah, we'll see how much success he manages to have with it.
Yep, I mean, there's lots of options for Petraeus to go for. He does have that 4th base finishing up. He has elected to go for the regular bases. No gold base thus far for him. Of course, with playing up against mech, you have to worry about all sorts of Hellion and Hellbat run-bys, but maybe these Mutalisks will be able to get a little bit of damage done. You did mention earlier that the Banelings had somewhat lackluster performance, and I think that's a fairly astute observation to make, considering just the relatively low number of workers that actually went down in that attack. So potentially we can see more mutas in the game. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of them now, but potentially they could be used for those counterattacks. We'll have to actually see. You did mention Roach Hydra Viper, which is the composition we're starting to see, and I don't know if it was Bly versus... Yeah, it was Bly versus SuperNova, where it was actually using those Vipers extremely well to just lock down all of the Thors of his opponent before going for a big Muta transition. And potentially, though not necessarily, we could see Petraeus do something similar.
Yeah, definitely a possibility for Petraeus to bring out right now. We'll kind of see how he wants to go about it, though, because SuperNova does have a pretty nice... 3rd base set up, so it's going to be really tough for Petraeus to push into it. Certainly not before he's maxed, and even now that he is maxed, there's still only about 12 army supply in it, because Petraeus obviously has so many more drones, and we'll see. There's a couple of Vipers, or 3 Vipers, none of them with full energy though. They've got enough for 2 abducts. And we'll see what they decide to use that energy on. It's going to be a couple of ducks on... Nope, lightning clouds go down on the tanks. But there's still so many tanks in the back here. About 5 tanks firing away. And the added splash damage from the Hellbats as well is going to drive these Hydras and Roaches away with no trouble whatsoever.
Yep. Vipers are being reproduced to follow this up. But that was a great hold for SuperNova. I don't even know if we can really just call that a hold, because he just sat there and he waited for Petraeus to just walk into those massive tank lines. Yeah, Petraeus tried to go in for the Blinding Cloud. He tried to make something happen that would be more advantageous for him, but he really wasn't able to take the engagement that he would want. +3 vehicle weapons is on the way for our Terran player, so once that finishes up, his army is going to be even more powerful. And for now, he's going to be sieging on creep. He's going to be pushing directly forward with those Hellbats. And here comes the Roach Hydra Viper, getting a relatively good concave. Blinding Cloud locking down a fair number of those tanks. And some of the tanks do get pulled into range of that Roach Hydra Viper. This is a much, much better engagement for Petraeus. He's actually eating through a lot of the army supply of his opponent. He's able to smash down the majority of this army, and the last couple of tanks are going to fall.
Absolutely, all going down here now for SuperNova. And Petraeus, with a much more easily remaxed composition, is going to go for a big swell of links, trying to close this game out. He's got +1 melee upgrades actually on the way. And with the tank count having been reset for SuperNova, I feel he got a bunch of Thors out first in case of a Mutalist transition, but that's absolutely the last thing on Petraeus' mind. He's just looking, for a bunch of links and a few Hydralisks. The extra Vipers being reproduced are going to be able to shut down what few tanks do remain. And yeah, now we see it's flipped over. Petraeus actually does have quite a significant army supply advantage now. These Blue Flame Hellions, though, are going to really help evening that up against these links.
Yeah, the Hellions trying to go for some sort of a run-by. They were potentially looking to roast away some drones at a gold base, but they will find none there. And of course, this gives Petraeus so much time to react and send Hydra Roach over to deal with those Hellions. Unfortunately for SuperNova, he just wasn't able to do anything. He has, of course, been remaxing with lots and lots of mech units. A healthy number of Banshees being mixed in as well, which, as we saw in some of the other games with SuperNova, they can be extremely effective when SuperNova uses them. Petraeus going to be backing off. He doesn't want to be throwing away those units, as we can see in, every game versus mech. That's what every player is thinking, is like, all right, I cannot throw my units away because they will die insanely quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple a couple hexes out of position and your units will die. There's just too much damage in that mech army, especially with +3. And every single game SuperNova has gone mech, he's rushed out that +3 weapons with absolutely no heat to the defense. I think it's served him really, really well. All the mech units scale so horrendously well with upgrades. And Petraeus actually with a little bit of a run by on these roaches. With no depot there, it was never actually rebuilt. They're going to get into the main base and be able to, you know, chew away a couple SCBs, maybe take out some add-ons. But the damage they can do is limited because SuperNova has such a strong army. However, Petraeus moving in at the same time in the in another location. The Blinding Cloud trying to cover 2 siege tanks. In the end, gets none of them. But SuperNova will hold this off eventually, losing only a few siege tanks to do so with a nice mass repair on that Planetary Fortress. And now Petraeus reveals his master plan going into the Mutalisk Swarm Host composition that works so well against mech. The really interesting thing about this is he's continuing on with his melee upgrades as well. He's not quite going triple upgrades, but he's alternating between ranged and melee and ranged and melee. So both are going to be a little behind where they would ordinarily be, but Ling run buys are just going to be so much more effective, especially given that SuperNova has actually gotten that building armor as well.
Yeah, now we do have on the right side about 6 or 8 Hellions moving into that gold base. They may end up transforming, but for now they're just going for a couple of drone kills. Not picking up a massive number just because there wasn't a huge number of drones to kill off, but some of the extra transferring drones will earn a little bit more value back for these Hellions, and Ravens are being added on. So to complement that Mutalisk and Swarm Host potential switch from Petraeus, we've got the Ravens on the way. And we could end up seeing one of those glorious, glorious Turtle Mech versus Swarm Host games. Now, in the natural base of SuperNova, Petraeus' Mutalisks are flocking over.
Yeah, they are, and he's going to do a lot of damage. He's actually going to take out this base. Of course, it was running out of minerals, but gas is the most important resource for mech players, and there's still a good, like, 1,400 there. So that's a pretty nasty hit for SuperNova to take. Nice damage done there by Petraeus. He's just going to continue circling around with these Mutalisks, and oh, what's this? It's another gas geyser I can pick off.
Yeah, why not? I mean, late game, everyone always talks about how important gas is, and it certainly is very important. Why not pick off a couple of extra reactors or refineries if you can? And in that case, it is going to be serving Petraeus quite well. He is building that bank as well as we talk about, you know, maxed armies and mech versus Zerg, all those sorts of things. The bank for Petraeus has been consistently way larger than SuperNova's, which is, you know, what you tend to see when Zerg gets out of control with their number of bases, but it leads to Petraeus being able to just throw away lots of units. Now, we do have Mutalisks swarming over. They're going to pick themselves up some lovely, lovely SCV kills. 53 SCVs in total have gone down throughout this game.
I really like what Petraeus is doing with just small Ling run buys as well. Wherever there aren't tanks running in, the Lings are so cheap. Especially, oh, hold on, a big Blinding Cloud's going down. And Hydra's going to move forward and pick off a few units. Blinding Cloud even going down on the Planetary Fortress. And this Planetary Fortress is going to fall. And this is really painful. This is basically a full base. And yeah, Planetary Fortress is expensive as well. They cost gas. And as you said, gas is the most important resource in the late game. Petraeus can afford to be throwing away those Lings as well, and he's picking off like a siege tank for a bunch of Lings, or maybe a Thor, or maybe a sensor tower. And all of these things are things that cost gas. Trading gas for, or minerals for gas is pretty much always a good trade in almost any proportion. Oh my god, those Mutalisks, though, they take some big hits from those Thors. We'll have to back off.
Yeah, I don't think too many of the Mutalisks actually went down, but with those big upgrades that you were talking about a little bit earlier in the game, those Thors do eat through the Mutalisks relatively quickly. Petraeus, again, just engaging pretty smartly. He is not just, again, throwing away units or trading too cost ineffectively with, you know, his more important units, and he does have the Swarm Host out and ready. They have been spotted as the Muta is coming in for another counterattack, and with this many Mutas, you need more than just 1 or 2 missile turrets.
Yeah, you absolutely do. I mean, any amount of static, or any realistic amount of static D will not be enough against all these Mutalisks that we see being brought back. Actually, only 19 Mutalisks. Kind of look like more than that, but Mutalisk numbers are a little bit tricky to gauge. So, yeah, the minute Petraeus has a lot more of his supply in the Vipers and in the Hide list, I think he'll be looking to trade out the Hide lists a little bit. But right now we see another little Ling run by coming in towards SuperNova's natural base, or third base, as the Mutalisk route towards natural, and take out so many of these missile turrets, even with building armor, even with the high-sec auto-tracking. There is no match, but SuperNova is moving on towards Petraeus' gold base in the middle of the map, and is going to be taking that right out.
Yeah, SuperNova just crushing on forward, as Ultras are going to be the remax for Petraeus. As you were talking about his Mutalisks in the natural of SuperNova, the Mutas have turned around. They have decided to flock back home, back towards where SuperNova is pushing forward, and SuperNova just doing untold amounts of damage as he sieges and unsieges and re-sieges upon the bases of Petraeus. SuperNova also has a healthy amount of anti-air. Oh, even a couple of Seeker missiles getting thrown down on the Mutalisks in the north as they pretty much all get cleaned up, and SuperNova's army in the south, can it actually be stopped?
If it can, it's going to be now or never with the Locust Swarm and the Blinding Cloud. The Ultras go down as well. The Hideless adding their damage into the back, but it's not enough. Those Thors still just pumping out way too much DPS. And oh dear, that scan on the Swarm hosts I see. They will have to back off, delaying their next Locust spawn by a bit as well. And I feel like SuperNova, even though Thors aren't the best against Locusts, he's just got so many of them, and a couple point defense drones are all he needs to add in that extra little bit of tanking for them. A bunch of siege tanks actually finish their siege up as well, and SuperNova is just trudging forwards, and Petraeus doesn't seem to have anything stopping. 13, 15 Ultralisks!
Yeesh. That is quite a few Ultralisks. Maybe with the Swarm host they'll be able to make some sort of damage happen, but I don't necessarily see that happening. GG gets called, and SuperNova takes game number 1 of this. All right, welcome back to the elimination match of ASL Group E. We have in the northern position from Root Gaming, our Red Terran player. He is SuperNova.
And his opponent is going to be spawning down in the bottom left as the yellow Zerg player from My Insanity, Petraeus. And, yeah, pretty... After the craziness that was Puck versus Bly, everything looks so much more standard and normal now. We've got a Reaper expand. We've got, you know, Hatch Pool Gas. It's, you know, it's all reassuringly normal.
Yeah, after a little bit of crazy, sometimes it's good to get back to the norm, and that's what we're seeing from these players, as you were just saying. And there is going to be our CC on the low ground for SuperNova. So he's not going to be doing a 1-1-1. He's not going to be looking for any super crazy pressure. But it is, of course, going to be a little bit later than the faster hatchery of our Zerg opponent. And now the question is, will SuperNova embarrassingly lose his Reaper?
I've got to think he's not going to. Yeah. He might even... Oh no, okay. He's paying attention. He's going to... bring it out of there, and just gonna keep on harassing, keep on being annoying. That's what Reapers are for. They're so fast. There's basically no risks that any unit poses them in the early game, or in the super early game like this. The Queen's coming out, of course. They push the Reaper away, but they just can't catch it, especially off creep. And yeah, we'll see this Reaper stay alive for now, and just hop down.
Yeah, Petraeus trying to do some cutesy positional things with his queens. As you mentioned, they can't actually catch the Reaper off creep, so he was trying to cut the Reaper off from the angle of engagement there. All right, Normally you don't pick your CC up, but sometimes you really want to kill an Overlord, and that's pretty good because it did supply block Petraeus, which is really quite annoying. Losing that first Overlord is something that happens so infrequently at top-level games. I can kind of understand the pickoff of the CC, even if it did delay that orbital just a little bit. At any rate, speed is going to be finishing up relatively soon. The third hatchery as well is just beginning for Petraeus. He's, again, not necessarily going anything super crazy aggressive. He's adding on more drones, and now we finally have that starport for our Terran player to start that medevac production. More dead Overlords. You have muted yourself.
Correct. I'll stop playing with my mic. So, yeah, absolutely more dead Overlords, little Marine squads hunting around, and that's so annoying for Petraeus. But I feel like he's... no, maybe it's just a safety baneliness, because I think Petraeus is going for... There's the armory. I think he's going for hell that push. And I was wondering if... sorry, did I say Petraeus? I think SuperNova is going for hell that push. Petraeus seemed to have cottoned onto that with that baning nest really nicely, but I think it's actually just a blind safety baning nest because you get it at some point in the game anyway. But right now, that queen's actually going to go down, and this is a pretty scary push for Petraeus' third base. I'm not sure if he'll be able to hold that, although some links do get in the main base, and that's going to be really, really good for him. That's... oh, that Hellion going down is pretty nice. But a few banelings being morphed in, just trying to threaten those SCVs, but... Meanwhile, back at Petraeus' base, he's lost his third.
Yeah. That's somewhat surprising there, but more and more links flooding in. Two of these banelings are so close to actually getting some money shots off on these SCVs. No, one of the banelings goes down. There's still two left. They're so close to detonating, and now they are free home.
That's one hit.
One more. Can Petraeus get the money shot off? No, the answer is no for now. He does still have two banelings in the main base of SuperNova. SuperNova pressuring the natural of Petraeus at the same time. And the workers, they almost went back to working, but they have been called off the line, and now the Hellbats can deal with the banelings without too much trouble. Down in Petraeus' main and natural base, though, we do have the Hellbats pushing in. They are going to start roasting away these drones, and now only a couple of drones have gone down, but 6 now getting eliminated. There's the pickup in the medevac, and for now, SuperNova has secured his main and natural a little bit.
Yeah, although his natural is gone.
Yeah.
I kind of missed that, but it's dead now. And although Petraeus did take quite a bit of drone damage and, lose his third base, obviously SuperNova has lost his natural somewhere amongst all this as well. So after what I said was, going to be a reassuringly normal game, it's turned out to be a little bit anything but, as we see, a minor base trade going down already just a few minutes into the game, and Petraeus, both players are going to try and re-secure the bases they've lost, stabilize back up against, after what's happened. And with Petraeus going for pretty fast lair and a bunch of gases, we could be seeing some quick nucleus coming out of him, and that could go over very, very well. Because right now, there is literally not a single thing that shoots up on the map for SuperNova.
Yeah, I mean, SuperNova, as you talked about, loves his mech, and normally a Terran player will have lots of Marines throughout the entirety of the game that can shoot up at any stage. And of course, you can add stim to them to make them move faster and shoot even more. But, as you were talking about, a sick muta transition could be a game-winning move. We aren't there just yet, and for now, Petraeus has to deal with Hellions, which can, of course, transform into those Hellbats, and Banshees on the way. But there's the Spire, like you were talking about. The Queens may end up getting almost surrounded by these Hellbats here. There's so many of them, but the Banelings are here to help deal that splash and clean up the Hellbats.
Yeah, and it looks like those Hellbats are going to be pushed back. There's a Spine already there in position at the third base, ready and waiting to burrow. And burrow, I imagine it will very shortly. Right now, though, the Banshees, getting in position as well. Petraeus is trying to deny a third base. And, actually morphing in a couple of banelings. Look like he's going to go on the aggressive again. And we'll see how well that works out for him. SuperNova's been being very greedy with 3 CCs coming up on this. So it's going to be pretty tough. It's going to be a little bit of a tough haul because I don't think SuperNova has very many units at home. In fact, I don't think he has any units at home. So these Banelings crash in. All 3 supply depots, or 2 supply depots on fire. More and more Banelings coming into the middle line again. There's still enough here for Petraeus to burst through these supply depots at the main ramp. Actually, the Banelings will just waddle their way into the middle line. So many of these SCVs are on low health from before. Just a single Baneling hit could be all it takes, and they're going to have to desperately run away. But it looks like most of those Banelings are going to go down. Some nice splash damage on the Hellions, and the Hellions, all having been pulled back, are going to be do their damage. And across the map though, SuperNova getting baited a little bit by Petraeus' Queens, just going to get away with that Banshee. But we've had some tense moments.
Wow, those SCVs have better be getting some sort of like dangerous work environment benefits, because they have been so close to dying so many times. Now, over the course of those last couple of minutes of engagements, we lost only 4 SCVs and 3 drones, which, considering it was... GG!
GG? He saw the Mutalisks. Yeah, he saw the Mutalisks coming. Guys, welcome back. Let's get those intros underway, because we've got some shenaniganry going on. And the shenaniganer is going to be at Red Town, up in the top left-hand corner of Deadwing, from Root Gaming, SuperNova.
And I guess that would make our yellow Zerg from My Insanity, the Shenanigan-E, who is indeed Petraeus.
And looks like we just got a good old-fashioned Turax coming down out of SuperNova. None of that fancy smanchy Reaper stuff you see nowadays. Back in our day, we just had Marines and bunkers, and we liked it.
Yeah.
And this is going to take a while for Petraeus to scout. Luckily for him, he has, of course, scouted in the correct direction first in those vertical spawns. So he's going to get... Well, he's going to see the lack of barracks at the main ramp pretty quickly and cotton on to what's going on. His second Overlord has actually gone... It's actually just going straight cross map, I think. So, not quite straight cross map, but it's technically on, the typical proxy 2X location, which is just down here between the 2 third bases on the bottom side of the map. But SuperNova's placed it a little bit further up, a little bit further away, but obviously also a little bit more difficult to scout. So Petraeus isn't going to see this. And SuperNova, with his SCV coming in, is going to get a bit of a head start on placing down that bunker, potentially.
Yeah, so Petraeus is going to have a little bit of trouble. Now, his pool did just finish up, so potentially he's going to be able to produce some units to deal with this, but there's going to be so many Marines, so many bunkers to deal with, that going hatch before pool is just, not necessarily the correct opener. But of course, Petraeus had no way of knowing that this was going to happen. And this is game 3, so this is everything on the line.
Yeah, and speaking of 3, that's the exact number of bunkers that SuperNova is taking to completely wall in Petraeus. This is already a pretty heavy commitment from SuperNova. But, this is kind of Petraeus going to try and break down the rocks to try and open up a new path for him to take and actually try and punish SuperNova for this. Of course, SuperNova, with their SCV stepping forwards a little bit, is going to spot this. The Marines stepping forwards a little as well, going to try and pick off some of the units, and they've got the safety of that bunker to retreat back to. SuperNova continuing to produce the Marines. They'll probably fill up to about 8 to 10 Marines or so, and then just stopping at 6 or 7 actually, and lifting those barracks back to his side of the map. Actually loses one of the Marines though. Is a little bit poor, but I mean, this hatchery of the Nat was just going down. There's pretty much no two ways about it.
Yep, there's too many bunkers here for Petraeus to easily break this position. He does finally have that spine crawler moving into position, but that natural hatch has already been eliminated. Now, on the other side of the map, we do have the CC going to be coming down for SuperNova, so he is potentially going to be transitioning out of this. Of course, that's always the goal with heavy aggression like this, is if you don't totally kill the other guy, that you've got some sort of a follow-up, and hopefully you did enough damage to make it worth it. And canceling that natural like that, it may be enough damage. We'll have to see, because Petraeus, like you were talking about, he's opening up that extra pathway.
Damn. Yeah, he is, and he's moving across the map with this. Supernova's opening up, is going for 3 CCs.
Wow.
But Petraeus has, I mean, he's got a lot of Banelings potentially here. But I don't know that it's enough to break through, like, the 2 barracks that are actually falling the wall off the natural. Oh, however, if he actually breaks down this SCV that's building the command center, you can't repair those. He kind of morphs in Banelings in the wrong place, though, and obviously now SuperNova has a good idea of what's going on. And I'm going to assume Petraeus knows how many Banelings it takes to break down a barracks, and is morphing that number. Because
yeah, quite possibly.
We'll see. He's actually going to go.
Okay.
Trying to go through the command center. I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about that, to be honest, because now it's just being repaired. The bunker's ready and waiting. GG is called.
Yeah.
And Petraeus, he's going to be eliminated. It's pretty sad.